But it's cool that your product, like you're selling a product that is good for
we feel really
people.
good about it. You know, like it's not the kind of thing where we're like, oh, you know, everybody loves bread. And I mean, it's a staple, you know, product, but it's really nice to kind of like educate people and sort of get people off the whole gluten-free thing if they don't need to be. Because let's be honest, the way they're making gluten-free things now, like they're spraying the crap out of that because they're mass producing it. And next thing you know, everyone's going to start reacting to that too.
We're sitting here with Nord Bread, a local bread company. I was going to say manufacturer, but that just sounds cold, and I don't know why I was going to. Bread
Artisans.
hustlers. Yeah, bread
artisans.
Artisans. That's a good word.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We were pretty excited to have you guys in the last time.
We're bread
And then-
fakers, actually.
And then Gilmar's like, oh, no, bread company tonight. And I was like, yeah, they just got back from vacation. I'm sure that
Yeah, I totally
It was-
spaced.
honestly, we should have reached out to you and just touched base.
Yeah.
But you guys went to Sweden? Or?
Well, we were supposed to go to Sweden, and then a week before the trip, the airline went on strike.
Oh, no.
So we had like sort of this consolation Poconos trip, and
With
then
like the
Oh,
whole
no.
family.
and then Maryland.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Sweden.
Yes.
But we needed time off so bad. We had not had more than 2 days off in 3 years.
Okay. So you needed a break.
We needed time.
So did you went away for like a week, 2 weeks?
We were gone for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, what was it like to be away for 2 weeks?
Well,
Easy.
well,
Easy?
yeah. I mean, nobody's able to work independent of us. So when we're closed, like when we're not there,
You're
it's closed.
closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of like that anxiety, like, you know, things are going on that might be getting screwed up. I mean, it's just shut down. So, I mean, like.
I went away for almost 2 weeks this past summer, and like, why it was really bad was like the night before we were set to leave, I thought we were leaving in like another day. So I stopped at my mom's house to like grab some things.
Yeah.
And like some dog food I'd shipped there, and my mom's like, oh, you ready to leave tomorrow? And I'm like, tomorrow? What are you talking about, lady? And then I got home and like all these bags are packed, and I'm like, wait a minute, are we leaving tomorrow? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not set up to leave. Like, I'm texting the whole way down. I'm like calling people. Like, I think that just started things off on the wrong foot. So
Yeah.
when I hear people going away on vacation, I was like ready to come back after like day 4 because
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Well-
Like pre-vacation, it was like a mad
Oh.
scramble
okay.
of like nonsense and
Yeah. You always feel like you really end up like deserving the vacation. Like everything you get put through like the week before and all like just everything that goes wrong. It's almost like the universe is going to make you pay for like this vacation or really fully have you like, you know, needing it even more.
That's like the last vacation Gilmar went on was, you went to Guatemala, right?
Yeah,
It was the
my
last
brother.
like real vacation for your
Yeah.
brother's wedding. And I think like the day he came back, we had like some sort of photo shoot that he had to be at.
Yeah, they showed like the next morning.
I was like, what happens if Gilmar gets like stuck in Guatemala?
Right? You have
Oh,
to like
we-
Photoshop him in.
We had to
Yeah,
get
right.
like another photographer to come
Mhm.
just in case Gilmar didn't, because it was still like Corona was still kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
all right.
I was like, Gilmar's got to get a test in Guatemala. Like, what if he's stranded there?
he's like
Just
taking
have, like, a-
selfies on the beach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I felt bad because you came in at like midnight, and then like it was like a farmer's market,
Yeah.
so you were exhausted. I was like, poor Gilmar.
Yeah, dude, I got in like at 6 a.m. the day before, I think.
Uh,
So it was a little rough. but
2 hours later,
It
you were
was-
seeing the sunrise.
It was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, it was still a good time.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
but 3 years.
3 years. Yeah, it took us that long to feel like if we left for a week that like people wouldn't forget about our product.
Yeah,
To-
because
for
that's kind
me
of
at
scary.
least, like, yeah, I just felt like in the beginning our motto was kind of like never say no to anything. So we would drive the bread anywhere, bring it anywhere, say yes to any farmer's market, any invitation, anything we could possibly say yes to, and that kind of continued over like 3 years, and then we kind of
Is that
Oh.
how long you've been in business?
yeah
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not that long of a time.
no
I think you guys have some pretty serious market share for only 3 years
Yeah.
in business.
yeah
Is this your first business or?
Well, Danny was in construction for many years, and he had his own construction business. And then I was a hairdresser for 25 years, so that's kind of like a business within a business.
Okay. That's a very like cliche. That's like almost like construction worker, nurse, construction
Yeah.
worker, hairdresser.
Right?
Like that's like
The top of the prostitute.
Hey, are you the prostitute?
yeah. Whoa.
What's going on?
Got to earn that money.
Yeah, it's like onlyfans.com/Nordbread.
Right? That vacation didn't pay for itself.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. 3 years, and do you feel like it's been 3 years, or is it kind of like just been crazy? What's it been like?
Technically, we're in our 4th year of business, but
The true entrepreneur answer, it's like you always start before you start.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we've got to the point now where we kind of paid our dues, and we don't have to say yes to everything at this point. You know, we have a decent amount of like the wholesale end happening, and then the farmers markets are exceptional. The people at the farmers markets, support we get from them, that really makes it all really worthwhile. And
Because you're getting that direct customer interaction, whereas
Yeah.
wholesale, you just see the bread on the shelf, and then you show
Yeah.
up a week later with more bread.
yeah, and due to like circumstances with having like, or not having a staff, actually, I've been actually having to do farmers markets where I haven't had to do them in the past previous years.
Okay, you're sure you used to have people go for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I enjoy actually getting the FaceTime with our customers now, and you know, get the feedback, and just to be out and be seen again, because being shackled to the oven 365 days a year is definitely a grind.
Yeah, so you kind of get like you recharged on why you're serving
Absolutely.
bread. Or
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good way to put it, definitely.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think I have relatively not a lot of interaction with our customers currently, or very specific customers, whereas like other people on our team get to interact like a lot more with like the positive side of our business, where I'm just
Right.
solving a lot of problems. So
Yeah.
like
Right.
I definitely can relate to getting out there and kind of being like, okay,
I
cool.
think it's
like,
important. I mean, it's not only just kind of getting to know people and them just kind of seeing that we are basically two people. If ever there's been like a family run business, like this is it. It's really the two of us, and then we have some staff that'll just kind of, they're awesome, but they just sort
orbit
of orbit
around.
around us, cleaning up our disaster as we go.
okay, so you guys are doing the baking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So who started down the bread path first?
Yeah. So basically, like, I've been gluten sensitive for quite a few years now, and I had gone to Sweden to visit with my family that's from there, and my cousin owns a bakery there, and he was pretty heavy into the sourdough. And when I was there, I was kind of saying like, no thanks on the toast, and he was like, why? You can totally eat this. Like, don't be ridiculous. It's sourdough. Don't you know about this?
Does he have an accent?
Well, he
Oh, of
speaks
course.
Swedish
He's,
to me,
like,
so
fully
I don't know.
Swedish.
I don't hear his accent because he's speaking Swedish
Yeah.
to me. But yeah, he does.
1,000%
Yeah,
he has an accent.
What does like a Swedish accent sound like? Is it kind of
I heard it. No.
Have you ever seen the Muppet Show?
Yeah, right. No, we're not. I would say it's like they speak British English.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ate bread for 2 weeks straight, had zero issues, came back, and was kind of like, well, this is cool. Like, we should try to experiment with making some bread just so I could have it at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
And I hated the like frozen
yeah, the gluten-free stuff is crap.
gluten-free
I mean,
bread that comes from
Anything gluten free
Yeah.
is usually a major letdown.
exactly.
It's fat,
Agreed.
like fat free
Yeah.
stuff. It's,
Yeah.
it's like
Absolutely.
agreed.
And I
Yeah.
stopped eating, like, I just stopped eating sandwiches and stuff because I was like, I don't want this bread, so I'm just not going to eat that kind of
And
stuff.
I love peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, dude, you're a peanut butter and jelly brother.
Definitely.
Yeah, my wife's a fitness coach.
Uh-huh.
And she made like an Instagram story the other day, like making my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then like me eating it, And then just being like, yeah, peanut butter is a bad source of protein. And I'm like, there was the brunt of like the and I was literally like, I had people reach out to me. They're like, is this passive aggressive? Like, I'm like, it feels like it.
Stop eating peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, I get made fun of all the time at work for like, I'll be eating a peanut butter and jelly out of a bag so I don't get the jelly all over me every day.
There you go.
So
That's
It's the
smart.
best.
there we go. Do you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
might
best.
be turned into a peanut butter and jelly episode. I don't know.
Right? I know. But
So you were, how long ago was like that?
I guess
first
like
experience?
probably like almost
5
4
years.
years ago. Yeah, closer to 5 maybe. And then
Yeah.
I subsequently tore my rotator cuff, and Danny had broken his back in like 2014. He had a large piece of equipment fall on him.
bolted together like Iron
Yeah,
Man.
and he crushed him. So
Okay.
Oh.
he had 2 spinal fusions and had gone back to like a desk style job, and then me with my shoulder. And when I was rehabbing my shoulder, I was making bread, and he was coming home at night and like helping
How'd you
me.
tear your
and
rotator cuff?
from doing hair forever. It
Oh,
was just
okay.
like
I thought you were going to
25
be
years
like
of
rear
wear and
naked
tear.
choke Danny.
No.
Yeah.
You're like,
We're
Nothing
doing
that
like some
exciting.
MMA one day.
Yeah,
and,
right. I wish it was something more exciting than just getting old and everything's just starting to wear down. But so we started doing that. Then we had like no outlet for this bread. And so I started bringing it to the salon and like giving it to the girls I worked with, and then I started giving it out to customers there, and then people were asking about it, so we were making it like to I can't even think of the word of it. They were ordering it, so we were making it.
so you
and-
were like the underground
Yeah,
Nord
they were
at this
bringing-
point.
I
It was
had
like a bread
baskets.
speakeasy
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Like no licensing or
No.
anything.
No, but that's a really cool way to start a business because you're not really you're jumping in at a certain point and committing
Yeah.
all the way, but like you kind of like build it up slowly.
Yeah, we had like control over it, and if something got messed up, which it could very easily because sourdough is like a fickle beast.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that pressure that I was like letting anyone down. They kind of understood. They were sort of like excited about our journey and our experimentation. So
And I can tell this part too.
Yeah.
Like as we started getting like built up, like now that we're fully licensed, insured, and like have a legitimate facility, we had like a fleet of household electric ovens in our barn. And we were literal, and like a refrigerator out in the barn, and my like I have a wood shop too. So we had like ovens all over. We would basically have to run around the property like pulling cold dough out of like different refrigerators, running them to different ovens, and it was pretty much a shit show.
It really
in
was.
the
Yeah, so it was
beginning.
like the British baking show where
But, like-
everybody's running around
Just
like,
like
I'm
shit.
behind my icing.
and
Yeah,
like
except like-
ghetto style. like
yeah, except in a barn.
yeah.
yeah.
Like a legitimate barn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a way cooler story than if you guys just decided one day to be bakers and
And
just
got like a massive loan. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
be like,
just
yeah,
put-
we have $1 million loan and we bought all this equipment and then
Yeah.
we decided to start selling our bread. It's like you hear that sometimes and I'm like, that's scary.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, first of all, that's not very interesting, but it also, I don't think you're as invested. Like blood, sweat, tears, like all of that has happened. Like
Yeah.
tears, a lot of tears. I have
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
say.
ask if there's some battle
Danny's
scars right
burnt.
there.
He's got like oven tattoos,
tat-
I
like
was like,
crazy.
Danny, are you safe at home? Like,
Yeah.
what's up?
It's like I'm a cutter.
I hear like the torn rotator cuff, the broken back. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on
I
here?
know.
You're just beating each other up in the
I'm
backyard.
abused.
Right?
It's like blink twice.
Munchausen's.
help.
Gilmore's got like a silent alarm under his thing.
right here, like the bank is.
So roughly 5 years ago, you discovered the sourdough bread while you were away.
Yeah.
And then so you came home and kind of were like, oh, I can eat bread again. I'm going to start
Yeah.
making bread.
Yeah.
So we started making it, but then I started to realize over time that like anything that we made with that process, I could eat. And a lot of people with this like gluten sensitivity, because really gluten sensitivity is like, that's really like a blanket statement. I mean, a lot of times like people think it's gluten that they're sensitive to, but it's
the 7
mostly-
Mountain Dews a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
and
it's like
also
the- it's
all
like-
the pesticides and chemical fertilizers
and
all
it's
that.
the fast Back in the day when they made bread, they didn't use commercial yeast. So like the process was slow like it is now, the way we do it. So as it's fermenting, it's breaking everything down. So it makes it something that's like a pre-digested food. So your body doesn't have to work as hard to digest it. So you don't get like the bloating and, just all the other things you get from things that are made too fast. I mean, that's just kind of like.
So like I know some things about bread, what you're doing, but I really don't. I know very little in reality. You're taking some sort of
a fermentation,
like a fermentation process, and that is what's developing into like your starter product.
Yeah. Well, basically the starter, all it is flour and water that's fermenting. And so every day I have about 36,000 grams of starter in a refrigerator right now that I'll pull out probably when we get done with this, and it'll ferment for 12 hours.
So you just keep it like that in the refrigerator at a certain temperature, or do you have to pull it out for it to ferment?
You have to pull it out. I mean, the fermentation is happening in the refrigerator, but in order to make it ready for the bread tomorrow, we'll pull it out when we get home, and it needs to ferment for about 12 hours. So then we'll mix our dough tomorrow, and the key is you got to leave yourself a sizable chunk to make more out of.
So like you're kind of like taking, it's like cloning plants.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So
that's because like whatever the bacteria is that's causing the fermentation, you need to transfer.
Yeast, it's all in that fermentation right now. So
do you like basically when you have the flour and the water, you mix that and put it in the refrigerator, or do you combine it at that point? Like at what point do you combine it with like the
Well, what happens is we'll mix our dough, and at the end we'll wind up with X amount. So maybe we'll give it a small feed during the day and just leave it out to keep fermenting until the afternoon. And in the afternoon, we mix in, basically they're like 5-gallon buckets, we'll say. Food grade, of course, but they're 5-gallon buckets. So I will mix however many buckets of this fermentation we're going to need, and we'll divide. And we've had the same fermentation going for 5 years now.
Yeah, that's how I understand that. Like some people protect their starters,
it's
like
like a
bloodline.
child. Like
Yeah.
if we go on vacation, we have to have someone take care of it for us.
Okay. I thought maybe you were going to say you take it with you.
Yeah, it's like you got a seat on the plate.
I just picture like E.T. kind of, but like bread, like wrapped up.
His name is Fred. He actually does have a name, fermentation Fred.
He's a living being, so he has a name. And Fred, like for example, this afternoon, at the end of the bake, we had like 2,000 grams of starter. I fed it 2,000 grams of water and flour, and just let it sit out all day.
So feeding it is just adding more flour and water.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what it keeps it alive, and that's what makes the bread leaven, actually.
Yeah.
So once you add that fermentation to your flour, salt, and water, it'll start immediately to start replicating. And that the bacteria and the yeast to start eating all that flour and water, and for lack of a better term, it just poots out CO2. And that CO2 is what actually makes your bread rise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're cooking it, that chemical concoction in there is the CO2 like burning off, or like
it'll actually start fermenting faster for a minute in the oven, and you get something called oven spring. So we bake right out of the walk-in. So we'll let the bread rise, or the dough rise. We'll divide it, shape it, put it in a little basket that's called a banneton, and then we'll let it rise again, and then it gets put into the walk-in overnight, because again, that fermentation's still going,
but slowly,
at a much slower rate.
So does it look kind of like the product that we get in the store when it goes back into the refrigerator, or does it still need to come up?
It's probably like 85% there, and then overnight it'll grow even more, and then in the oven it'll get a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's called the oven spring, because as the center of the dough starts to heat up, the fermentation just starts getting going rapidly until the heat actually kills it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the heat's actually killing it. It's not.
Yeah, and it you know, like when you slice open a piece of bread and you see like, you know, this sort of like little pockets in there. That's basically like that CO2, like it has now pushed out the gluten strands, and then it gets killed off, but the gluten strands have already like locked and baked into place.
Right.
So if you see that picture up there, like on the far right, you kind of see the little like cratery kind of looking, you know, like that.
Okay.
You can see sort of from an outside view.
And
It's
that's
just like
also
the
an excellent
CO2 fissuring out.
show of what gluten strands are.
Yeah, see those strands, that webbing, that's all gluten.
Okay.
Yeah. So when people are saying they're gluten sensitive, it's those strands of protein that they're saying that they're allergic to.
Okay. And those strands are like all the way through the bread.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like some people will ask when we're at a farmer's market or something, oh, well, your bread's gluten free. No, it's chock full of gluten.
Yeah.
In fact, like that's actually what gives the dough its structure. That's
It's the
what
quality that people are usually like. It's the quality that allows them to eat it.
It's that
Fermentation.
fermentation. So, you know, it kind of like breaks down the wheat proteins, and it, like I said, it's almost like pre-digested. So when it hits your system, like it's already broken down a bunch, so your body doesn't really have to work that hard to digest it. So unless you have celiac disease,
Then you're just toast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Then you're gluten-free toast for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of our customer base, they're people that are sensitive, you know,
Yeah.
to gluten.
I'm
And,
sensitive to everything. I'm just sensitive.
I'm
Yeah, are you?
So I have
myself.
to. Yeah. So yeah, it's like if it's better for me, I'm probably eating it. But that's
And then the
that's
other
cool science.
part of that coin too is I think in this country especially that a lot of people that think they have a gluten sensitivity, and I might beat this horse a little bit too much, but I really think it's the Roundup chemical fertilizer,
the glyphosate or
Yeah.
yeah, and all of that stuff that's in commercially produced wheat in this country. Europe's banned all of that stuff for over 20 years at this point.
Yeah, in the late 90s they got
Right.
rid of all that.
But
What makes you think like what the more I learned about that, how like the chemicals and the role Roundup plays or their parent company plays, like Monsanto or whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's just how do we know about this, and how is it still happening? Like
Yeah.
they basically sprayed Lake Nakamixin with like I think I'm saying a glyphosate, whatever
Right.
that like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
glyphosate.
I'm
I'm not
yeah,
sure
it's
how
something
to
like
pronounce
that.
will
it.
let
I'm
you
not
know.
saying anything because I'm
Yeah.
not sure either.
Yeah, so they put that into like they sprayed that around Lake Nakamixin and like over the water and stuff to kill mosquitoes and things a few weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, so wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The natural body of water that runs off into like the water system
Yeah.
that eventually becomes rain
And
that
drinking
comes down
water
and drinking water
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like the cows are getting like I'm like we're just doing this.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of just we're going with this. Like or the chemicals they spray on the road when it snows.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
so what happens when the snow melts and it goes into the drains and then it gets absorbed? Like,
Well,
I'm like, what are we doing here?
I'll do you one better. Like we live on a small farm,
Okay.
and there is like we don't do any of the farming on it, obviously, but the grounds around the house we rent is farmed by a farmer, and basically he'll come in, he sprays the whole field with Roundup to like kill off all the grass around there, plants right through, and then comes in and sprays it all with some kind of, I don't know, crazy mixture of chemicals. And within 2 weeks, the corn's like taller than I am and, you know, planted so close together that it's amazing that it can even grow.
Yeah, it's commercial farming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they come in, they chip it all into a trailer, and they feed it to cows, which then matriculates its way down into our milk and
Yeah.
butter and, you know, any dairy product that's made from milk. And it's the same thing as the wheat. it's just chock full of all these like random chemicals that are used in the farming process.
I with them every time I hear it, I'm just kind of like, how
Do we do this?
how do we do, like, how are we eating poison?
Yeah.
Right.
Another rabbit hole I went down was like microplastics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
That's a miserable
deep.
read.
I know.
It's like we got plastic in our bloodstream. We
Yeah.
have plastic. We have
Yeah.
unborn baby, or like babies are born with, and they're like testing, and there's plastic.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what are we doing
I
here?
know.
Right.
How did we get? How did we?
It
We're
is
so smart.
maddening. Yeah,
Like-
it is maddening, and it's like the more you know, like you just can't unknow these things.
Mhm.
And then honestly, the more food that you're exposed to that is fresh, and the more people that you meet that are doing these, are farmers or like specializing in something, and the more you learn about it, it's like you can't go back. I
Yeah,
mean,
You can't.
you just know too much, and
It's like the Matrix. Like once you
Yeah,
realize there is a
Yeah.
Matrix, there's no going back into the
Yeah.
Matrix. That's but it's cool that your product, like you're selling a product that is good for
yeah, we feel really
people.
good about it. Like it's not the kind of thing where we're like, oh, everybody loves bread, and I mean, it's a staple, product, but it's really nice to kind of like educate people and sort of get people off the whole gluten-free thing if they don't need to be, because let's be honest, the way they're making gluten-free things now, like they're spraying the crap out of that because they're mass producing it, and next thing you know, everyone's going to start reacting to that too.
Yeah, I think that Americans just like to be stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
They just
I agree.
they
with
just they just want to like
I
have
want to be
like,
all the things.
like
Right.
yeah, there's like people, there's like now there's like I hear people that I went to school with growing up that are like, yeah, like we're actually autistic, or it's like, no dude, are you sure? Like it's like, or ADD, like everybody
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
ADD now.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
back when I went to school, there was like
Yeah,
there was one kid,
spaz of a kid.
there was like
and-
maybe one or two kids in your grade that like
Yeah.
they had ADD,
Yeah.
like
Right.
they needed to be
Yeah.
medicated, but now you hear, by
Yeah.
the time I got to college, it's like all my friends were like taking Adderall to like take tests, and I'm like, dude, I knew this kid that like needed that to like survive
Yeah.
back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's almost
true.
like a fashion thing. It's like
yeah, it's like fashionable to like have something wrong with
Yeah.
you,
right.
and I
It
think
should
the
be fashionable to be like go back to old school everything. Like
just being a badass.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's like-
I like being a badass.
Yeah, I mean, you got crushed by metal and you're
Yeah.
still here. You might be the Terminator. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm almost more machine than man. I'm like Vader.
Yeah. But I think gluten free is like one of those things that like you can have something wrong with you, but you can like it's a relatively low risk something wrong with you, because people are like, oh yeah,
yeah.
gluten free,
Or
sure.
people equate that with like some form of weight loss. When really like, okay, yeah, if you are truly gluten free, then you're cutting out a lot of things in your diet, like, crappy foods from your diet, like, donuts or whatever
Yeah,
other
it's
nonsense you're eating.
cancellation
Yeah,
bias
so
in a
it's
way.
not that the gluten-free products are like causing you to lose weight. It's just that like maybe your attention to what you're eating has
I think
shifted.
that a lot about the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
It's like people that go on the carnivore diet, they get all these like wild results from the carnivore diet. I'm like, but like what? How are you eating before the diet?
Right.
Yeah.
And is that
Is it maybe you're just
sustainable,
eating? Like I think there are people that eat only meat. I only know one person, and he might not be truthful about his results, so we can't trust. He's
He carries a club and wears a loincloth. dude.
Yeah, like, yeah, you
just
buy-
eat meat.
yeah, he like loves it so much. He buys his meat from like a butcher, like some Middle Eastern butcher down in the city, and he brags about it everywhere. I'm like, dude, maybe you're too hard on the meat train.
Yeah, I think variation. I mean, we're meant to eat like a varied diet, and we're meant to eat like with the seasons. And I mean, you're just like
Seasonal eating is a cool concept, or I mean, I don't think it's a concept. I think it just what was at one point.
it was the old fashioned thing.
And
yeah,
you would kind of like, it's like bears hibernating.
Yeah.
Like you get ready for winter.
Right.
Winter is
Yeah.
really like, winter takes 3 weeks too long and you lose all the weight. And then,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like-
yeah.
and then you start summer again. It's just,
That's another thing about like society is now it's like everyone's so like want it now, and that's why you can get a peach in December,
Yeah.
in Plumsteadville. Like,
sometimes I think about that where I'm like, oh, strawberries in January. Where are these
Right.
strawberries from?
right, right.
Yeah.
Like,
Somebody have like an indoor strawberry grow I don't know about,
Yeah.
because that
or they're coming
profitable.
from like somewhere in South America, and it's
Yeah.
like the logistics of getting those strawberries to the giant per se in Plumstead, is that really like globally like a good thing to be happening?
Yeah, it's like we want everybody to buy electric cars and go green and everything.
Yeah,
It's like,
but
how
somebody's
about we
gonna have a
just stop shipping
strawberry.
strawberries in January?
Yeah.
Like, what would that
Solve
do
it.
for the
And
planet?
wouldn't it be just like a nice treat to like just be excited that strawberries came around in the summer instead of like just having access to everything all the time? Like
Right.
everybody
Yeah, it's-
needs to stop being a bunch of babies. Like
Right.
Yeah, so I guess I can't get Nord bread on Amazon.
No.
not yet. No.
The funny thing is, recently, well, I guess it wasn't that recently, but it was one of those like DoorDash type services, like
Okay.
we were advertising our business,
Yeah.
and
Without our acknowledgement,
weird.
consent, nothing.
People do that to us, though.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they do. Think about all like those promoters or the people that email us and they're like, "Hey, we have 57 renovation clients in your area. If you give me $500 a month, I'll tell you about them."
Yeah,
Or like
right.
that's Angie's List or any of
Oh,
those.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually ordered our bread through DoorDash because I was like, well, let's see what happens.
Well,
Oh, that's a good
It
idea.
started off. You got an email from a customer like,
Yeah,
"Where's
like
my bread?"
exactly.
Like,
I ordered
right.
it on DoorDash. It never showed up. I'm like, excuse me. So then I ordered something on DoorDash, and then obviously it didn't show up because I never
Because
got.
you would have had to ship it to yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
and it took a lot to like get them to stop doing it.
Was
Like,
it DoorDash or was somebody just like
No, it was DoorDash.
taking you out?
And it was like DoorDash, and then I had read some things that they I guess they just add people at times just to I don't understand like
Where it
where
came
yeah,
from.
but
Yeah.
yeah
Maybe that's just like a sneaky way to get you to like sign up.
I think
Yeah.
It's a
was.
proof of concept. Be like, hey,
Right.
you're getting orders.
yeah. I'm
Except
like,
the thing is that
It doesn't make any sense.
our customers have to order 48 hours in advance because like to make a loaf of bread, it basically takes 48 hours. You gotta like take it from starter to sitting in the cold proof for at least 12 hours. So our customers have to order 48 hours in advance. So DoorDash would quite literally have to like order through us.
Wait time is 49 hours.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right.
that was
Yeah,
interesting.
DoorDash took 3 days to get this loaf of bread here.
So you guys don't hold any bread. You guys make it that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold
like
any
the-
bread. You make them sound like they're drug dealers. Like
Well,
they
no,
don't hold
because
any.
We're
on you.
holding. We got
Like
that bread,
you'll
son.
never, you'll
Yeah.
never see them somewhere on a shelf for a week. You know what I mean? It's
I
Yeah.
think you see the only place that I've seen that I've been there. I mean, I don't do our shopping, so is Organins,
Yeah.
and that shelf always looks pretty stocked. But there has been times where I go there and it's like, oh, Saturday.
Well, we
Everybody got
delivered
their
there
Yeah. We're there
several
twice
times
a week.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about sourdough also is that it does have a better shelf life because there aren't any like preservatives in it, but the fermentation acts as a way to preserve it. So it can. I mean, I've actually forgotten a loaf of bread in the car for a week and still been able to take it inside, cut it up, and eat it, and it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you just toast it at that point.
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
If you make a peanut butter and jelly
wasn't
sandwich,
great,
you got to come back.
Smear peanut butter on it. It's delicious.
So at what point? So you started hustling bread through you being a hairdresser, and then like how soon into that did you realize that like, hey, I see opportunity here?
Well, I had already kind of like, not by choice, but just because of my arm, like I just had to quit doing hair. So I was kind of sitting around rehabbing my arm and kind of thinking like, what the hell am I going to do now? I've only been doing this for 25 years. Like,
So you kind of had like a transition
Yeah.
that you had to make,
Yep.
and why not make bread?
Yeah, and it started out like slow enough that it wasn't super scary. Like I said, like we didn't like rent like a commercial kitchen right away or buy any expensive equipment. We were just kind of like doing what we
Craigslist.
did at home, like in our fleet of electric ovens off of Craigslist. And then we realized like once we were going to service like the farmers markets and stuff, like we needed a legit kitchen. So we started working out of the Carversville Christian Church.
Okay,
They had like a certified kitchen there.
like
so.
a catering hall kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So we did that, and then we saved up enough to buy our first like professional deck oven. And
well, it was like either buy the deck oven or not do it anymore.
yeah,
Because it was
Such a grind.
well, the ovens that they had in that kitchen were just like old style, like commercial, just like gas ovens. And to make good bread, you need a lot of steam. So
Okay.
I had like
A deck oven's like what you see the guys at the pizza shop with.
yeah,
very similar,
Yeah.
yeah. Except ours is steam injected is the only difference. Than
Alright.
like and it has stone on the bottom. It's really the only difference from a pizza oven. But the ovens at the Christian church were just like gas, old style ovens. So line the bottoms with bricks, big slabs of granite in there, and then sheet pans with lava rocks, and put all that in there. It would take like 2 hours to heat the oven up to get it up temperature. We'd load it full of dough and then throw ice and water in there to get the steam. And we'd extinguish the oven, like burner, pilot,
Yeah.
everything.
it's a nightmare.
So we'd have to like let it steam and then pop the oven open and like reach in because they were so old that they didn't have like the trap door on the front. You actually physically had to light it inside the oven. And that's where like a lot of this started with my arms. And we did that for like 3 months, and I was like, enough. Like, we got to
Yeah.
like get a legitimate oven.
That's when
At
we
that
realized
point,
like
you-
we needed to make like a significant investment.
That's when
even
you.
it was
That's
scary.
the leap of faith there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
'Cause
we're
bef-
up to 3 decks now on our oven, and
Dang.
and they've all just been like we've knock on wood, like we've never taken out a loan. We've just always like just tried to use like used equipment or just make do, MacGyver everything until we could actually afford it without having to take a loan and then pay that off and then move up to the next thing. So
You don't hear people starting businesses that way nowadays. We're the same way. Like, we didn't take any of the PPP money. We
Yeah.
didn't like. We just
Yeah, we didn't do any of that either.
we just work hard and
Uh-huh.
make sure we don't spend it all, so we have it
Yeah.
when we need it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You see a lot of people, especially. I mean, in construction, you see people like I call them debit card contractors,
right.
where they literally use their business debit card as like their personal debit card.
Right.
So they're spending money, and then eventually they're like, buying that Disney trip, and they're like, wait a minute. I
gotta
just took
finish
so
this
and
guy's house.
I got to finish this deck to pay for this to
Yeah.
like do this, and then
Right.
you get yourself into this
yeah, that's just like
downward spiral.
no way that I can imagine us living, only because the stress of the job is enough. Like just,
Yeah.
we're not really motivated by money. We've always been motivated by like pleasing people or just like, creating something really cool in the community. But to have like some kind of like lingering debt or something like looming over us, I think that added to just the stress of like running a business and being a married couple that run a business together would have wiped us out like
Yeah.
2 years
Well,
ago.
and to what Bianca's saying, that's another reason why we chose to go the wholesale route as opposed to having like the cafe style bakery where, folks would come in and buy, bread and coffee and, 88 bathrooms. And
You guys would have to open up like a bakery.
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't want
we don't
we don't
want
want a
that.
retail spot.
That's kind of why do you need a retail spot if you have people that they have empty shelves?
Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
like-
farmers market.
So that was always a conscious
Yeah.
thing. It was kind of
Yeah.
the farmers markets came first though.
The farmers
they still
markets
do.
came first, and like that is our bread and butter.
Where
That's the
like
farmers
would you
market.
say percentage wise wholesale to farmers market?
Well, the wholesale numbers may be like at like a per loaf.
I was
during the
more
week.
so like volume, like
I would say the farmers markets got to be at least 60% of like
Yeah.
our.
We do 5 farmers markets. And it's seasonal, but it also runs from like November until April to November.
Right.
So I mean, there's
You
really
get a little
just-
break
You get
at
a
that
little
point.
break, but
Uh-huh.
that's when the wholesale really kicks up because all the people that were buying from the farmers markets all summer, like then they kind of get pushed to go to the wholesale spots more, and so it picks up then. So it kind of works out that way, but
so you started doing the baking and like were you still doing construction at that point?
No, I got hurt well before Bianca did, and I was out of work for a couple years, and I tried to work for a construction company doing purchasing and estimating. And that was part of the catalyst of going to rent our first kitchen was I was like, I hate this. I physically want to just like throw myself off a bridge. So I'm quitting and going to need something to do. So let's just rent a kitchen and go for it and see what happens with this bread business that we kind of like.
You're doing it on the side at that point.
Oh, it was definitely a side hustle and completely illegal in the beginning. We had like no, like right now we're working underneath our ag certificate and they do inspections and all that stuff. But before that, we were just really just like mom and popping it like to the truest extent. And, so then we figured, all right, if we're going to start doing these farmers markets and we want to have this wholesale model and like actually make it viable, then we need to get all of our certification insurance and all that stuff together. So, I was like, gave my 2 weeks notice and I had to go out and go to Colorado for a little while to like sell my house out there. And then,
we just went for it.
Yeah, we went for it after that.
Yeah. I was lucky having done hair for so many years. Like I know a lot of people, like I have
you're well networked.
I have a ton of clients that, just from all walks of life or, different businesses. And, that I was so fortunate to have that because that really started that ball rolling.
Yeah, for sure. Because like before I came back to Pennsylvania, like I grew up here and I was out in Colorado for over 20 years and I was like straight up living like the Unabomber out there. I didn't even have like the internet until like 2013. So by the time we started this, I was like new back to this area and B, like I had like no concept of like the real, like the social media angle or any of that stuff. Whereas Bianca was like well versed in all that, and that was like a huge part of our business right there too. Is the social media presence and
your social media looks great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah, that's all. You take all those pictures and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like it.
Thanks.
So you guys have from the beginning. You kind of like. Did you ever have to define each other's roles or like have any conversations like that, or you kind of just knew
I think
who did what?
We're defining roles all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain things like, obviously, Danny knows like the mechanics behind things and like the ovens and like the, our building that we rent now for everything. Like, I don't know how to do all that stuff. Like when we were kind of outfitting this new spot we're in and, but then again, he doesn't understand like the social media like I do. So, I mean, those kind of things are like the obvious roles. And then we kind of just, at this point, we've been doing it for a while. So we just have like a routine. But every once in a while, just as married couples do, like it'll be like, you're not doing as much as I'm doing, or you're not, and then it's like, well, you should do this for a minute, or you should try to see where I'm, and then, we quickly just settle. We're both like, all right, let's just settle back into our roles because things are going to get screwed up here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good mix because I'm not like crazy social anyway, so it's definitely much better to have Bianca in that role. She's definitely more the face of the business, and I like being behind the scenes anyway. So I enjoy that role more, except at the farmers markets. That's the only time I don't mind.
Yeah, because you're connecting over your product.
Yeah. Exactly. It's much easier that way,
Yeah.
Because I can be socially awkward, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody in this room, maybe not you, can be socially awkward.
That's the part of the reason why I was also in construction most of my life. You know what I mean? It's like...
what did you do, like, when you were your own company? Were you doing, like, renovations, new construction?
I mostly did, like, new home construction, foundations, and custom home framing.
Okay.
So I would be, like, the first one in, first one paid, first one out. That was like my model for that business.
Yeah, you didn't want to wait until the end of the project to see if they sold it or not.
Or at the end of the project too, like the painters and like the trim guys, they're always like waiting on their money because someone's like, well, we kind of went through the budget. We're like, you'll get paid, don't worry. I was like the first one in, first one paid, first one out. So that was my whole deal.
Yeah, that's smart. So whose idea was it to like keep it wholesale rather than?
I think it was both ours,
Yeah,
really.
I think just, having dealt with like the public for so many years and just seeing like the potential fuckery that can bring.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's much more in under our control. Like, now our spot is technically a wholesale spot. Like, do people come in to see if we have extra? Sure. Do they pick
people
up?
know where the Bat Cave is?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
do we have a
It's
big
the
sign
chicken
out
coop
there?
right
No.
behind
Yeah.
Cross Keys Diner.
Yeah. But when they come in, I think I always tell everybody, like, this is technically a wholesale spot. You could pick up here or whatever. But I think
They have to wear a hard hat or.
Yeah, I feel like they just feel like they're allowed to come in and do, like, they just don't complain. Like, I think
They know.
they just know they're just sneaking in and they're not really supposed to be there. And I think that it just makes it a lot easier.
I think like people. That's kind of like when people like enter in through like the back of the restaurant
Yeah.
because they know the
Sure.
owners. They're like, I'm gonna come through the kitchen. I'm like, don't go through the kitchen. It's
Yeah.
slippery as
I
shit. You're wearing
know.
dress shoes. Like you're gonna bust your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And plus,
like, I
like,
came
when
through the
people
back.
come into our spot, it's not like a very like warm and embracing kind of feel when they walk in. It's
Well, it is warm.
Yeah, it is warm.
hot.
Well, it depends, like, because our building's, like I said, a chicken coop. So in the winter, it's cold as all can be, but in the summer, it's also the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's like Hades,
And it's very
Yeah.
small in there. Like, we have how many square feet, you think?
It's like 1,000 square
1,000
feet.
square feet.
Oh, it's not a
So
lot.
everything is
No.
on wheels. So, like, we have a different configuration, like, as the day goes
Like
on.
hourly.
Like everything moves and
Yeah.
and switches and turns, and we've tried to make the best out of all the space, but that doesn't really leave any room for customers. So if they do kind of walk in, like, they really have one spot to stand in.
They have like
It's like the doormat.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a 3x3 area that they can come in and like be there because every other square inch is being utilized and there's something there. Like it's either like a bread rack or a mop bucket or a person or a table or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every like Bianca was saying, everything's on wheels, so we're constantly like, moving stuff around to like transition to like the next phase. So like, all right, we're mixing now, and then we'll move stuff around while baking's happening, and then we'll get all that stuff out of the way for dividing and shaping. And yeah, it's not like a very like hospitable experience when customers do walk in,
Yeah.
even if they're just picking up an order. It's like, here's your order, have a nice day. You know, like
Get him out the
get
door.
on with
Yeah.
your bad self.
Yeah.
Like,
But I mean, everyone's been cool that has come in. Like, we haven't had any Karens or anything like that. Like, we've been very lucky. Everyone's
They're
been
out
very
there.
cool.
You gotta-
Oh,
you gotta
I know.
watch.
I
You gotta
know.
watch.
I meet him at the farmer's market occasionally.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just trying to call a Karen before I came in here. Her name's actually Karen. She works
Oh.
for the water department. She's been trying to
Now,
track
did
me
she
down.
act like a true Karen? when you
Nah, I
talked
got
to
her voicemail again. So it might be a Karen move.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's, if she's listening right now, she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to call him back."
Yeah, she probably doesn't listen.
Oh shit.
It's actually kind of wild though. The people that you find out that listen, sometimes, like I would say 7 out of 10 times, you're like, oh, like my mom's friends or things like that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you listen to the show. That's gonna be
I
interesting
know.
when the next week's comes out. I was talking about you, but
No, we're not always known for I don't know. We get ourselves in trouble. We both have like filter issues at times. Some more than others.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll own that one. I'm the HR nightmare, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
big time HR nightmare.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meetings and stuff, they joke all the time. They're like, "Whoa, HR." I'm like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
there's no
The
HR."
last meeting got a little wild.
They
I'm the
fired
H-
him.
Well, the thing is, like, I'm the HR, so
yeah.
like, who am I gonna like scold myself? Like, man, Danny.
Yeah.
Man.
I do that.
Yeah.
You just like put them in the corner.
I just like give the face like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
I usually get the like under the table. My wife will just be
Yeah.
like, watch it.
uh-huh.
But
Know
yeah,
that.
I'll be getting that a lot this weekend. We're going down to the shore and we're gonna like see my mom. So the entire time she's like, be nice.
Be nice to your mother,
Yeah.
dude.
Yep.
I can feel it right now. So you guys started, well, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. You were pre-corona.
Yeah. It was like a year, like kind of like our first
Yeah.
real year in business. We were
Was the
like
Corona
in
year,
COVID,
yeah.
and we realized that it was
Bread's like toilet paper.
yeah.
Oh
During
yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
we were
You guys were-
busier. We were really busy, and we actually kind of felt bad about it for like just a half a second, because all my friends were hairdressers, so they were all out of work, and then a lot of our other friends were in the restaurant business, so that was crumbling, and we're just like, sorry guys, we can't hang because we're so tired, we're so busy, like
We're trying to figure things out over here.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Danny, load the loaves.
I know.
that was just. I
Yeah,
said
right.
laundry.
We're not
like,
working, honest. We're totally
Yeah,
not.
but we definitely tried to give back. I mean, we set up a free bread program, which was awesome because our customers are so great that they actually contributed to it so well that it did not come out of our pockets.
Oh,
So we were
wow.
able to like subsidize loaves of bread. So anyone could email us and they didn't have to say anything except for here's our address and we'd like a loaf of bread. And
It's
we were
kind of
able,
crazy how that happens without government involvement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of like communities. I don't know about like a huge city, but communities like ours,
Yeah.
you don't really need, even though it happens,
Yeah.
you don't need that involvement because people just tend to
People do it.
step
We
in.
have the best customers that way. I mean, every year we try to do some sort of a fundraiser. One year, like we had a bunch of college kids working with us. So like at the end of the summer, we did like a fundraiser so that we could send them off to school. Like we matched whatever our customers donated. So we were able to send each of them off with like $1,500 to start out school with. Like 2 years in a row, we do kitten rescue. That was like another.
You're a cat lady.
No, I was never a cat lady.
Okay.
And in fact, until we were at the Carversville Church, like we came upon like a cat horde and like a kitten horde situation. So we kind of stepped in. We're asking
a true cat
a
lady.
true cat lady.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we started like trapping and spaying and neutering, and then we were had these kittens, and then we kind of joined forces with a rescue out of Doylestown, and now we've actually fostered. I think we're on our 70th kitten.
Damn.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
I know. That have gotten homes and all that. So, I guess
And then, to that note, also, like, there was also, like, I think almost 40 adults that we trapped, spayed,
and
or
neutered. Yeah.
neutered.
and
Okay,
released.
yeah.
Trying to like
The
fix
Nord
the
Force.
problem. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like nuts. I mean, it really is kind of nuts. Like we're,
Social justice warriors.
Yeah, we're like,
That's where all the Karens went.
Right.
You
Yeah.
trapped them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been leaning out in Doylestown area.
Right?
I wish.
Yeah.
When they see your car coming, they just scatter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we have a lady out back here that she's actually I've got some intelligence on her. She's the second round of cat lady. So there's a farm back like probably 300 yards behind our building, and they've got farm cats.
Yeah.
So every day this lady will drive around our office parking lot, stop her car, open her car door, leave her car door open, swap the food that she leaves like in the bushes over here.
Yeah.
And then like you see these monster cats come out of nowhere, and they're not malnourished. I'm like,
No.
they're
Yeah.
eating twice a day.
Yeah,
Like
right.
they're eating the farm food,
Yeah,
and then they're
and
coming
that-
over here for like this
Yeah.
lady.
I mean, just feeding without doing anything to prevent all the like babies they're having, like that is never going to solve
Well, it's
any
kind of
problems.
interesting. I know for a fact there's probably raccoons getting down on the food too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like this lady thinks she's like doing a.
I know.
She thinks she's really helping the world, but I asked like somebody involved with like the landlord or like the management company, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's like actually not the first lady's. She had to like pass the baton on to her because she's something happened. She got like too old to do
Yeah.
it.
The
So I'm like, this
crazy
is
thing about all
Retired.
those cats.
multi
too.
generational.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about all those cats too is like the woman in Carversville there wasn't a bird, for a mouse, or like a
Oh
chipmunk
yeah, like
for
they
like
should change
you
the
know,
whole ecosystem of like the whole town.
it was like the epicenter of death was this house
Yeah.
because these cats were just like eating everything they could.
She's like an environmental terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, she pretty much is. She's
Yeah.
like pretty much just destroying the ecosystem around Carversville, and
And we need you. What you should have done is just gone out and gotten bigger birds. And then Carversville would be run by like eagles or
like,
something.
what eats cats? Wolves. Let's get wolves and release them in Carversville.
Yeah, the population's dwindling.
Yeah.
See how we get rid of these cats.
Yeah, so you guys, to get rid of the cats, you actually had to like take care of the cats then.
Well,
so
I mean,
you're in your 70th kitten, which entails like you getting them super small.
we get them super like less than a pound. We get them spayed, neutered. They get all their medications, they get all their shots, and then they get adopted into a nice
And
family.
scoop litter
So-
boxes daily.
Yeah,
I hate scoop
it's
litter.
out of
Me too.
hand. Like
Sucks, man.
it's
So I'm a dog person, really.
Yeah.
At heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he saw Rambo and he started to cry. It's like
Yeah.
not seeing anybody for years, and you're just like, oh my god,
yeah.
God,
you
you're so
do
very
they still
cool.
exist.
No, we had dogs too, but it's just rough with our schedule. So there's
Yeah.
just
What's your schedule like? Because you said you guys are going to leave here, and then go back to work. Like, do you guys
Well,
work?
just to pull the starter.
Yeah.
But I usually start around 4 a.m. and I like 4 to like 2.
yeah. Danny works like 4 to 2. I get up at like 5:45 and I like get all the like invoicing done and whatever like things I have to do on that end of things, and then I go to work by 7.
You're like 6 to 3 kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Yep. And then, it's mostly weekends. And then, like, really, we have off right now during farmers market season. We have off from about 2:00 in the afternoon on Saturday until 2:00 in the afternoon on Sunday ish. And right now we're short staffed. So now we'll do the Sunday farmers market. One of us has to do that. So really, yeah, there's really no time off right now.
And there's no time to mess around.
There's no rest for the wicked.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I have always I worked in the restaurant business for a little while, and every now and then again you would never see the bread guy because he would deliver the bread so early in the morning.
Yeah.
But one night we had just like a crazy night, and we were there until super late, and then we started drinking. So like here's like the entire wait staff like still there as the sun's coming up, and the bread guy was like there before the sun came up. I'm like, what? Is this
Yeah.
every day? And I like was pretty young, so I put it together. I'm like, wait a minute, that's what he does for a living. Like
Right.
he has to get up early, and they're like, yeah. And then when he wakes up, he has to go back and like make bread. Like he probably doesn't sleep
Like
at
do
all.
it, yeah.
I'm
It's a rough schedule, and I mean, we're lucky because we kind of created like what was going to work for us. So I mean, our wholesale accounts, like they don't get their bread at like 4 or 5 in the morning. Like the bread shows up between 9, 11. My dad's our delivery guy. He's like a 77-year-old like retired from construction dude. Who
It sounds like you can trust
he's
him
an-
with the bread.
Yes, he's an HR nightmare too. Like, but people love him. But he shows up and he's like this little Italian guy. He's just like, oh, here's your bread, Just like, yeah. So,
Yeah, so you got Danny in the
Yeah.
construction business over here. Had a
Yeah.
piece of metal fall on him.
Yep.
It sounds like you guys are like a kind of like a syndicate of some kind. You guys like the bread,
Bread
mafia.
mafia.
Yeah, right.
Bread mob.
Up in there, Carversville wrangling cats.
Cats.
And things. I'm like, wait a minute.
It's funny though that you mentioned like the bread being delivered at your restaurant while you guys are hanging out there late. Because I'm at my bakery early, and Cross Keys Diner, we literally share the parking lot with them. Like we're right behind them. And the guy that delivers their bread looks like he should be from Middle Earth. I'm not even kidding. Like, I think he can only be out like after dark. Like, I don't think he can be like around when the sun's out because he looks like an orc or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say orc, but I didn't want to be the nerd in the room.
No,
Is he an
he's an
orc?
orc because like he's like a big guy, and like
Has only
both of
one
my
eye.
legs couldn't fit in his one compression sock he
Yeah.
wears, and he just has like this hook that he drags everything around with because he's not very mobile. And yeah, I think that
Do you like throw him up like the Spock across the
Like shoot a flaming arrow up in the air and it'll come. Like I don't know, but
Yeah, I watched last week. I watched some Jamie Foxx movie about vampires, and then we watched Constantine the other night.
okay.
And like driving to work this morning, for some reason, I have no idea why this idea popped up into my head, but I was like, I feel like I could handle that responsibility about like knowing about vampires and not telling anybody. You know what I'm saying? So like we might have to set up like a hidden camera thing up there, just see what this guy's deal is,
Right?
start my
Right.
career.
Yeah.
Like we'll put one of those like magnetic trackers on the truck and see where he goes, like
Yeah.
where
Just
his like crypt is.
Just duct tape and air tag onto his car. he's probably up in what's above Plumsteadville.
Like Ottsville.
Yeah, he's probably like Ottsville, or what's like even above that.
I kind of feel like he
But
must
Upper
be-
Black Eddy, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably lives
That's
at the
probably
Q
his
Mart.
name. Q-Mart. Yeah, he lives in like behind those double doors that
Yeah.
people are too scared to go.
Yeah.
He's in a cage. They just release him.
Yeah. I hope that guy listens to the
Oh
show.
my God. I'm scared.
It's
now. I'm
fine
like,
because he doesn't like me anyway. We already like.
He's
have
like, how
this,
do they know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause, like when I first started baking out there, I'd see him in the morning and I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And one day he's like, "Nord bread, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, we make bread. You know, you deliver bread. We should like have some kind of like."
I feel like this
kinship
is
here."
like the start of like West Side Story. Like
Yeah,
you guys
that's what it
you
felt
guys
like.
just like pull your switchblades
Right.
out.
Slapping.
Like I have like a baguette and he's got, you know, like a hammer made out of a loaf and he's like coming at me and battling it out in the parking lot. Yeah, that's what it's very much more contentious relationship than like, you know, a brotherhood of bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
going
feel
on.
like a whole new level to your social media is going to be on the way, just like bread armor.
Yeah,
Like,
I did put one.
sledgehammers
Yeah,
made out of
we
bread.
had Danny and I like have different ways that we shape things. So that middle picture up there is a baguette, and that's my baguette because it has a pointy end. Like his
No,
are very
that's a blunt end.
well. That end's pointy, so I think it's mine, but it kind of blunted out up there. But
It's
Danny's
just
are very
beautiful.
blunt.
You just don't want to admit it's
Yeah.
mine.
It's we're just a little bit competitive. Can you tell?
So can we go to like, say we just like pulled up to Organin's, like
Yeah.
would we be able to be like, Danny formed this
You
one?
can with the pretzels.
with the pretzels,
That's-
you can
The
for sure.
pretzels.
There's like his and
1000%.
hers. Like he has his shape, I have my shape, and then our people that help us like have some fucked up shapes. Like
Yeah.
you
just
guys could do like a spin off of like left Twix, right Twix.
Oh, for
yeah,
Be like,
sure.
yeah, I'm Danny only baguettes.
Yeah, right.
His,
I'm
his
Danny
are blunt
Pretzels.
force trauma, and mine are stabby. I
My
Oh,
wife's gonna
so-
pull it out. I'm gonna be like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not a Danny.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's cool that you guys are like still that small that you can be
Yeah,
like.
we can. Yeah, we've had our hands on like every single thing, and that's the hardest thing I think about. I mean, first of all, it's been hard to grow because nobody seems to want to work right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where did all the people go?
Yeah.
I felt like
I think like Xbox and you know that whole scene is really like eating away at the workforce.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I've got $5,000 in crypto. I'm riding. it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, get a job.
Yeah. I mean, we always seem to like find someone when we need someone, so it just kind of seems to work out. But you know, our we haven't. Well, we're about to start with someone who has experience and like this is like what she does for a living. But mostly we have like college kids or people that are kind of like in between jobs and they're just kind of helping us out for a while, and that's great. But then they always like go back to like their real job or
Their
real-
biology
Yeah,
degree.
yeah.
Yeah.
We just had like a physician's assistant work with us all summer. She was great. Like, but you know, we always know
Just
we're going
quit
to
the
lose
game.
them.
Yeah, and the most like when there's like professionals that come and like help us out, it's always like, oh, I kind of want to learn how to make bread and I don't want any other stress. And like I can just come here and like do my duties or whatever and go home and I don't have to take anything home with me, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's our job to take it all home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they could just come in, they could like, you know, all right, I'm a baker for half a minute, and then all right, now I can go back to being a
Yeah.
physician's assistant, or
But we've met a lot of cool people just because they aren't in the same line of work, and we've definitely like had a lot of fun with, you know, all the people that have come through, and so.
What's the next move then? Are you guys planning on growing larger? Are things good at this level?
I like this level. I mean, I think that like we're always afraid to say that like we don't. I mean, of course, there's like room for growth. I think that it would be nice like when we have someone else who does have like experience and has like the same skills set that we do, so that we can have like a little time to work on other things and not just be so much like in it all the time.
Yeah, we do have to grow in that respect. We have to grow the business a little bit larger to like sustain having more quality help, so that it isn't just Bianca and myself.
Yeah.
So there is going to have to be an acceptable amount of growth that's going to have to happen.
It's like sustainable growth. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to blow
Correct.
up very quickly, but very like
and
methodical.
we never aspire to be like an Amoroso or Stroman's or something like that. We definitely want to stay with a micro bakery kind of look, but we probably need about another 1,000 square feet and like 2 good employees, and whatever that looks like as far as growth is probably where we will wind up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, we've always talked about from the very beginning, we wanted to have like sort of like the ice cream truck, like that would, so it would be the bread truck that came into your neighborhood with the little
cool.
sound. And then like you could come running out on a Sunday and just grab bread for your Sunday dinner. And that.
Somewhere there's like a parallel universe that there's like a bread truck instead of an ice cream truck.
But we're kind of jammed up because like, what would the bread truck music be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Violins,
No.
cellos,
I feel like it'd be just like, what was it in South Park? The D note?
the D note. Oh, where you
Just like the super bass.
where you shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but like the bread version of that.
Okay, yeah. But you get hungry for bread. That's what
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
this.
Or
Like
you just,
it sounds like
or
a
you just
ship
drive
horn.
around in a truck like with the D note going.
Clean out your systems, folks.
Yeah.
Make room for the bread.
Stomach starts rumbling.
Yeah, I picture like maybe like a foghorn off of a very eerie thing.
Yeah, right?
And just like here comes the bread man.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Cuz I think I got that cuz we were talking about the dude from Notre Dame that delivers bread. over-
The orc.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. The orc.
oh.
Yeah, like
Maybe
a guy
he already
with, like,
uses
was it,
that. We might-
like the chauffeur or whatever, like the big horn.
yeah.
Like, horn,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like a
blowing out.
Viking horn or something.
Yeah, at 4
There you
a.m.
go. This
Yeah.
is working out.
At 4 a.m. everyone's like, the bread's here. That's how you wake up. I had a question about you guys' how specific you guys get with your bread. What kind of flour do you use? Like, do you choose specific flours, or is it just all purpose?
Yeah, we've run tough with Montana wheat because it's non-GMO and it's 100% chemical free. That's like the probably the biggest flour we use, and then we use Castle Valley Mill for like their spelt and rye wheat berries and a number of other things, and that's about it. Besides the Montana wheat and Castle Valley Mill, those are our 2 biggest suppliers. So we pretty much make everything from those 2.
Yeah, we have like wheat flour, rye flour, like an unbleached white, and then we have spelt flour, and that's pretty much it.
Are you guys like is there anything about your process that's like proprietary or like a secret step or something like
I
that?
always,
Not
I always
really.
tell
Or is it
people when
just
they
good
come in to
bread?
like work with us, if they have any kind of experience, I'm like, you may just watch us and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
that was like kind of my question that I was
Yeah.
going to get
Yeah.
into. Like you have this person that's coming
Yeah.
that has some experience. Like
Oh yeah,
Well,
she
is
probably-
there
worked with
some
us.
She worked with us for one day, and I guess like we didn't scare her off, like.
Yeah.
But
in a couple of weeks when she feels comfortable to tell
yeah,
you, she'd be like,
maybe she'll
"You
be
gotta
like,
stop
why are you
doing it
guys
this way."
doing that? Like, because I mean, we don't have any formal training,
Yeah.
and we've never worked at a bakery, so everything that we've kind of come up with is just from us being like, well, that other thing really screwed everything up, so let's just try this. And now we have like, we just have a very set way of how we do everything. I mean, we're always open. So, I mean, if the woman that comes to work with us, if she's like, all right, you could probably save a lot of time or whatever doing it like that. We're not like, it's not like an ego thing at all. It's just like what worked for us. And, you kind of get like, if you get a good product and people like it, like you just don't want to mess with it too much too. So.
How many products do you guys have? Like, what's the lineup?
We have 5 different flavors of the bread, like the bowls and the
Bowls or
batards,
batards,
like
yeah.
those on the top left corner there, like that kind of shape.
Like ovals or rounds,
Yeah.
basically.
And so we always have plain rye, honey whole wheat, and super seed, which is pumpkin, chia, and sunflower. And then once a month we change out one of the flavors. So we try to connect with the local farmers, and then we see what's in season, and then we make something, and we buy up like their uglies, like stuff that they can't sell to customers, and then we make something out of that. And then we have baguettes, soft pretzels, and then English muffins. And
all
then
the
we have
pan
like
loaves.
all of our pan loaves that are more like the German style, like very dense, heavily seeded breads. We have a couple of those as well.
like
so.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And that's like manageable right now. Would you add anything? There's any plans to add anything?
I always want to add like little shit. I'm the one who came up with like the English muffin idea and everything, and it takes off and they're delicious, but it's like
Baking 25,000 little pieces is madness.
he's just always like, why? I'm like, but yeah, like I just like sneak it by him. I'm like, we're just gonna try English muffins just for a day, and he's like, all right. And the next thing you know, I'm like, all right,
Well,
we have an order from Kimberton. We need like
Yeah, I was on board with the English muffins, but it was contingent on getting the 3rd deck for the oven, because with 2 decks and trying to keep up with like bread production, I was like faltering hard. So we had an opportunity to buy a 3rd deck, and I'm glad we did, because that's the only reason why we're able to pull off doing the volume of pretzels and English muffins that we currently do. Otherwise,
there's no way.
we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, we put out like a lot of stuff for when you think about how very little like our whole deal is. I think a lot of people assume that like there's more happening, Just sometimes I get like an email and like, oh, you should talk to your marketing, or I'm like, yeah, I'm the marketing person.
Right, yeah.
I'm, the bookkeeper, accountant. Like this is the, like it's just us.
I feel that because we've grown into a larger company than we once were, but we're still really small.
Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes you'll meet people out, and because of the social media presence that we have and like how good it looks, a lot goes to Gilmar for doing that. Like people think the wild things, like they'll think I'm like as rich as Trump. And I'm like, hey, look, like, I've been at this a long time. It took us a long time to get this recipe to where it is now, where it like looks this good and we do the business that we do. Like it's not people think it's a lot more glamorous.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
think people assume
there's nothing glamorous about
that it's
back
like
of the house
easier too. I mean, we have had a couple of people that come to work with us, and like they're seeing us like 3 years in. So like we kind of have like a well-oiled machine at this point. Mm-hmm. So I think they're like, oh, I could do this, and they kind of like branch off for a minute, and
it always goes like you feel good about it right now, but in 3 years from now you'll look back today and you'll be like, how are we doing it?
I know.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it just goes to show that like you are always evolving and you're always changing, and that's what any business really has to do.
Well, and as like a human being, like as long as you're always willing to learn something, you're always going to be able to like not just grow like in business, but grow as a person too. And you have to be very open to other people's thoughts and opinions, and I mean to a point. There comes a certain point.
Don't open yourself up too much there, big.
Yeah, there comes a point where you're like, yeah, your opinion really doesn't need to bounce. But like in order to evolve, you have to be able to like take a look at your stuff and see other things and kind of like find a balance of like the two and work with what works for you. And I think that's a big thing for small businesses is that you can't be so stuck in like, all right, it's got to be done this way, this how, and whatever. You have to do what works for you and what actually works for your business. And I think, that's the only reason why we've gotten.
Sometimes we're like, how do we have the audacity to be doing this right now? Like at times, But I think that's kind of what you need to have. Like if you're going to be a small business, you just have to have that, I don't know, just kind of like
Yeah, I think there's we use the term a lot. Entrepreneurs, they like want to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
Because the way I think it has a lot to do with social media. I think, but I mean, at the same time, at one point in our country, like in the early 1900s, like World War II and before, like 70% of the business in the United States was small business,
Right.
Yeah.
And then over the time, it kind of shifted into like everybody working for these huge companies. So I guess we're kind of maybe getting back to that, but because of social media, the idea of being an entrepreneur is
Yeah.
very glamorous. When behind the lens, it's
No,
actually quite miserable, and
Yeah,
especially
it's
baking,
a lot of
like,
work.
like what you guys do is just it seems like a lot.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a grind. But I think just our love for not just the bread, but just watching the evolution of Nord, and just when people are out and they're like, we love your bread, or like anything like that, really fuels us, and it just makes it so exciting that we'll just think about it sometimes, like, wow, look what we created, like this is so cool, and that kind of gets us through the times when I don't know, any of the myriad of things that can happen with business any day when we're
And there's been like several people that have like either worked for us or friends of ours or whatever, and see that like we're having some success and think, oh, well, I'll just go start a business. If they can pull it off, it's super easy. We'll do it. And they quickly learn that it's working for yourself is very challenging, and it is a lot of work.
a lot of sacrifice,
Yeah, well, definitely a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, there was a saying or something I heard or saw a couple of times on like Instagram or something where it was like, I'm going to start a business and make my own schedule. And my schedule is I work all the time.
Yeah. I'm like, if we
so
really
true.
figured out like, how many hours we work and how much we make, I'm like, Danny was like, don't do that.
Don't ever do
Don't
that.
ever
Don't ever
do
look.
that. No.
I've told everyone that I know that's like going to start a business. I was like, yeah, for like the first like year and a half, 2 years, don't ever think about hours in and money coming in.
That's
Yeah.
one thing as like a leader and entrepreneur was a struggle for me in the beginning because I was working so hard that I kind of just like expected everyone else to kind of like
Absolutely.
Oh,
fall
yeah.
in.
Absolutely.
And then like over the years I realized like, you're going to have people that, want to get there at 7:30 and leave at 3:30.
Yeah.
And like they'll be packing their car up at 3:28.
Yeah.
And you're like, but you also have the guys that are, I guess they're called intrapreneurs, where they're like part of a business. They're like, they didn't start the business, but they work just as hard.
Yeah.
They treat the business like it's their own. And it's those employees that you like really have to hold on to because they're the ones that like help you really grow.
You got some
Yeah.
names for us? Because we're looking for
No.
those people
no,
right now.
no bread
Yeah.
makers.
But it is true. I mean, we tell everybody like, we understand like this is our passion, like this is our baby. We expect when you're here to like give it your all, but this is our baby. And if you have an idea for something like you're really passionate about, like what can we help you with? Because we have given people the opportunity to kind of like springboard off of our thing, with something obviously
That's really
similar.
cool.
But we're always open to that and tell people that work with us all the time, like, what do I love being around people that are passionate about what they do. Like I love being around like a crew that's like happy and having fun. And I mean, I'm so sensitive to like people's energy, especially in such a small space, that if someone's miserable, like I can't take it. Like you gotta go, or tell us like what it's gonna like what you need to like make this exciting for you, or do you have a passion that we could help you to develop? But just coming in kind of being like ho hum at work, like it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've had a lot of people that like have worked with me or transitioned successfully or not successfully. I think it comes down to when I see people leave and they're not really like they're the 7 to 3 and they won't work extra, or
Yeah.
if there's a huge deadline and everybody stays late, they don't.
Right.
And then you come to find out like, oh, you're leaving to start your own business,
Yeah.
or you're leaving to do this, and you think it's going to be easier there.
Yeah.
I'm always like, face value, I'm like, all right, good for you. I'm happy, or whatever. But inside, I'm just kind of like, you're not gonna, you're gonna be just as not well off there.
Exactly.
Whereas when people have left here to kind of start their own thing, and they like had like that X factor where I'm like, oh, you're gonna like, you put in your time here, you helped us out as like a team and a company. Like what do you need
exactly
help wise from me?
Yep.
And that's always so rewarding to kind of like be the stepping stone for somebody's like next big thing. I've always found like a lot of appreciation for that. But you gotta have to like have what it takes to do that next thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't want it enough for them. Like, we wanted this enough to make this happen. Like, you can't want anything for somebody else enough to make it actually happen. Like, you see what goes into like having your own thing. It's like, it doesn't turn off.
Do you still do you still have time to like see the people you used to work, like your hairdresser friends or the restaurant people?
Yeah, I try to. Like, I mean, I definitely try to stay connected with, my friends, or sometimes it's even hard for us to stay connected, like with our family. It's hard to manage all the, like, just the time.
Yeah. Cause you feel like if you take your eyes off of it for a second, and it's only you guys doing everything right now too. So it's like kind of like take your eyes off the wheel. Like, what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And like, I feel like, when I'm not working, I try to, either socialize, which not so much really. I mostly try to keep up with like my hobbies kind of stuff. And that part I miss, especially during the summer. We're in the farmer's market season. Like I just recently got into like, trying to blacksmith, like I'm teaching myself to blacksmith.
It's like the most badass hobby that somebody can just pull out of their pocket. I was ging to be like, what kind of hobbies do we got here? We're wrangling. We're like catching cats for fun.
I'm playing like, but A, it's too hot in the summer to mess around with that, and B, I just have like zero time, but still like go out there and like check out my stuff every once in a while.
Arrange your
metal.
Call it the man cave, just to hang out there with like my tools, surrounded by them.
Yeah, like I thought maybe you were gonna say like glass blowing or something real random. I did not see blacksmith.
Yeah.
What else do you do for? You said hobbies. Like, do you have anything else that like?
Well, there's I just tried to like I'm just starting to get into like the blacksmithing thing. Then I also like woodworking.
Okay.
So I've got like a million tools for that. And then like during the summer, like I like to go paddle boarding, but that's not nearly as cool as playing with molten metal.
Making your own arrows in case the world comes to an end. They're gonna be like making bread and arrows.
Right?
Bread and arrows.
Yep.
Where did you guys come up with the name for Nord? Like, what is Nord?
So it's like a nod to my Swedish heritage. So it means north. Like, it's like, part of the word Nordic. So at first when we were trying to come up with cool names, like the word for bread in Swedish, it would just be mangled by every American. So there's
what is
no
the
way.
bread?
Bread.
Bread.
Yeah. So, I mean, that'd be cool because it has like the O with the 2 dots over it. So that could really been cool.
See, my only contribution is I wanted some like what we have now. Like your hat, I modeled after like the independent truck for skateboards.
Okay.
Because I wanted like a 1-word name and I wanted like a symbol. And that's why we have like the O.
Yeah, the O for Nord. We actually had that trademarked. So we're hoping eventually it kind of like is synonymous with like sourdough, and that people could use it just to, like they would use like a kosher stamp or something, like just for people that have sensitivities, that they would know this is like something I can eat because it's got the O on it.
That's
so
cool.
We'll see.
Expanding into like trademarking and things.
Yeah. Somebody already like contacted me and was like, "Oh, can I, if you ever give up the name, can I buy it because my initials, I don't know, something." I'm like, "See, this thing is paying off already." Like,
it's true.
That's awesome. Are you into blacksmithing too?
No.
All right.
No.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
No.
No.
Enough.
Get your wheel with the hammer.
Yeah, I have like no super cool hobbies. I think it's like it's something like we're both trying to be more mindful of, is like trying to do things outside of just working. I do have I have a 14-year-old daughter that lives with us like half the time. So it's like, between just like mom duties, work duties, and, all the cats and all,
being
like,
a mom isn't a hobby, just
yeah,
so we're clear.
Right.
I know.
Well, and the thing for me is like pre-back breaking, I had like a ton of hobbies because I was like very much like in the outdoors. So part of like my whole, like trying to learn how to blacksmith is like trying to like rediscover who I am and like make new things for myself, because like I can't really snowboard anymore. I can't skateboard anymore. So like I've got to like come up with other stuff to do. And yeah, this is like part of like Danny 2.0, like
The machine.
Yeah.
before back.
He's like, I'm back.
And
Yeah.
then after, then now I'm an after back. So like I'm Danny AB, like trying to like figure
AB.
out what's going on.
Oh man, it's funny you say you're not a people person because you're pretty funny. You're probably one of the funnier people we've had on this show.
It's pretty easy when you're just talking into a microphone.
Yeah.
Because you forget about like all the people that may or may not be listening and all that. It's kind of like, oh, we're just in this little room and like in this little bubble. So it's a lot easier.
It's kind of like one of the reasons we started the podcast, because there was just like never any time to sit down with people and talk. Like everybody's on their phone all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was just like, it'd be a cool way to meet people was if we had a podcast. And then it just
Cool.
got really out of control.
Yeah.
The best part for us is like we are constantly listening to podcasts
Yeah.
too.
That's all we
so-
do while we're prepping bread. It's like podcasts, Howard Stern. We're huge fans. Like, since, we're both like products of the 90s when he first was around, or late 80s. But
yeah, like my like early morning is definitely like a lot of like punk rock, and then soon as Bianca shows up, like
he has to
it's like
turn
mom's
it way
home.
down.
Like I like
It's like
turn
she
it
pulls
off.
in the parking lot. You're like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
Shut it
like
off.
he's been up for hours with like a lot
And
more
I'm all
coffee under his
coffeeed up, and I'm
belt,
just like, whoa!
and like I walk in and I'm just like, okay, like
enough.
we
And
gotta
then what?
turn
Like,
that
what's
off.
what's like the podcast lineup right now?
Murder. We're into like a lot of true
Lot of murder.
crime.
You
Yeah.
are into it, or you are into it? Women
I'm
are
not.
always into like scary
Yeah,
murder
he
shows
always
and
says
stuff.
like, just don't do this to me. I'm like, I'm way too
Don't do
lazy to
this.
like kill.
I think she's
him.
just doing like research actually.
Research
yeah,
and
just like sending
development.
Ted
She's-
Bundy notes.
She's just trying to
Yeah.
figure out like the perfect way to murder me off.
Yeah.
Like
Let's
she's
start
I
a bread company and
I
then
still,
put them in the oven.
I need him too much to
Yeah.
get rid
That's
of him
when,
at the
dude,
moment.
when she has redundancies in your systems, that's when you got to watch out.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Soon as she's like, all right, we have like some really good employees. Now we need some life insurance. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, my time.
They'll just
is
find like a metal rod in the oven. That'll be the only thing left.
So you do like the murder podcasts and then.
Yeah, it's like that, Stern, and I mean that's really kind of, and then like then there's music, but we've just realized that now we have some other people in there, and like everyone's taste is kind of varied, and a lot of people have taken to just like putting their
Earbuds in.
yeah, and just kind of like, which is totally fine. I don't mind at all, but I after a while, like we spend so many hours like just kind of standing in one like place, like doing this like shaping thing, that after a while it's like you need something on in the background, but it's almost like then everything is just annoying after a while. Like you can't figure out like what it is that's going to make you
and
happy
plus
after a
we've
while.
pretty much like gone through the
We
whole
burn through like everything.
every murder podcast. I think
Yeah.
we've gone through because now like Bianca's searching through YouTube.
And I'm like, oh, we know this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like Jim Can't Swim and stuff like that. Have you heard of him
Mm-mm.
on YouTube? Look him
No.
up. He does like a lot of he breaks down interrogations of people.
Oh
that
yeah, we have
murder.
listened to that.
yeah, because
Yeah.
interrogations have been
like-
my latest thing.
Yeah, like I'm not into the interrogations. I think it's pretty boring. But she'll watch like a 4-hour interrogation of
Yeah.
like someone, and I'm just like, oh God, kill me.
I
Like,
just like how they break down people. And
Yeah,
how
the
psychological
psychology,
it is.
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
yeah, I don't have that kind of time. If they could like get it down to like 15, 20 minutes,
Just put it
I'm
on the
in,
background.
Yeah.
Just like break it down. All right, at this part, this is what he does to manipulate this guy, and then we'll
Yeah.
go to 38.
It's all
minutes
part
later.
of my research and development.
Yeah, right.
How to get away with it.
Yeah, because like after you murder him, you got to go through the
Oh.
interrogation and get away with that.
Be ready for that.
Yep.
It'd be funny if they like got through your search history and they'd be like, she did it.
Yeah, we have
You're
no
guilty.
evidence, but
I
there's
mean,
a
this
lot of
podcast is going to be
circumstantial
part
going
of like all of their, they're just going to pull this podcast up at some point.
Yeah,
So
I could
be
just
busted.
Yeah, I could just see a prosecutor just like going to a jury and just be like, there are hours of interrogation footage, hours of murder podcast.
She's got her 10,000 hours of murder in.
She's an expert and no one knew it.
No
Yep.
one knew it.
Be like, we found out, dude.
Yep.
Episode 139 or whatever we're on right now.
Yeah, I don't know. 139, 140.
We just have to like hope somebody actually. That'd be like our big break.
Yeah,
What?
right?
Like our
Okay.
podcast is just stagnant, slowly growing, but like she murders him and we just blow up.
You're like, thanks, Danny.
See,
Be like,
now-
what's the greatest thing to happen to you? Well,
Right?
it's
I
kind
mean,
of dangerous to talk
this
about.
is your passion, and I do like to help people realize their passion. So, I mean,
Oh man, this is
You're like, Danny gave his life for this podcast.
this episode is sponsored by Nor Bread.
yeah.
Pour one out for Danny.
Just like,
crumble up this loaf for Danny.
Yeah.
we just have like one of your blunt loaves like framed.
yeah.
Be like, see this? See how this tip is blunt?
You're like, see how
Yeah.
this pretzel is shaped so much differently than the others? That's
Yeah.
Danny.
This
I
was
could-
the last
We'll sell
pretzel
the hell
he
out of some
shaped.
bread too, because it'll be like this bread was baked in the oven where Danny was cremated.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
It'll be like anytime a rapper gets shot, the record sales goes through the
Yeah.
roof.
I think we're on to something, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah, I
It'll
mean,
be worth it. It'll be
Yeah.
worth
I mean, we
it's
could,
totally worth it for all you guys.
Yeah.
or we could just fake it and just set you up and back up in the woods in like a cabin or
Yeah,
something.
like
Yeah.
Tupac.
you would like that.
Do a
could do
fake
that.
Danny death as a
Yeah.
promotional stunt.
I could do that. I'll have like a suit of armor made in a year.
Just like the end of
out
the
there.
episode that everybody thinks you're dead, and it just like slowly, just like, bang.
Yeah, and then he's
And
delivering
they're like,
Stroman's
oh my god,
bread.
Danny's alive.
Next thing you know, I have like a full robotic exoskeleton like out of the woods.
You can snowboard again.
Yeah.
God damn, you guys should start like a YouTube show and just like at the end of the season, just kill Danny.
Season finale.
Season finale, everybody's just like, oh man,
Uh-huh.
your sales go through the roof.
They're like, who's that now that's in the bakery? I have like a cheesy mustache on. They're like, oh, that's David.
That's Manny.
That's Danny's twin brother, David. You know?
Yeah, where you're like, you discover your long lost twin brother in like episode 3,
Yeah.
so that like we can just like, he's coming to work, and then he just shows up at the end of
I'll
the.
only like bring this up because it just happened and you brought up like a sibling, but I found out like 2 years ago through Ancestry, like don't mess around on Ancestry unless you're ready to open up Pandora's box. But I found out that I had 12 siblings that I never knew about.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
What?
Right. So when you're saying this
I'm
twin
one
brother,
of 13.
yeah, yeah,
He's got a strong bloodline.
Yeah,
Oh.
Papa was a Rolling Stone. I'll just say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
He's like, what if you had like 13 brothers all with the same name?
Yeah, right.
Well, the one brother is 3 months younger than him, and his name is Daniel David Perez, and his brother's name is David Daniel Perez.
Wow.
Dad was just running out of names.
Yeah. Like the D's,
that
man.
one's Daniel David. That one's David Daniel.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Have you like made contact with any of them? How
With
many
some
minutes
of them,
into
I
this are we that we've just gotten
An
into
hour
this?
32.
That's when things get lit. We got to go to page. We got to start doing Patreon after an hour and 15 because
Yeah,
that's when
right.
we find out stuff like this. So you've made contacts with any of
With
these?
some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, it's like I grew up in Huntington Park, Philadelphia. They all live right around Huntington Park.
Oh, okay. So this isn't like a different state. Your dad wasn't like a
No.
traveling salesman.
No, like in fact, like when I went to go see meet my one sister and my one brother, I was like, well, there's my elementary school, and
They're
that's
like, we
the-
looked for you.
I was
for
like, that's the park I played in
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and yeah, and I actually met my sperm donor, and he was like, "Yeah, I looked for you," and I was like, "He's like, I haven't hired a private detective." I was like, "Well, he must have been a really shitty private detective."
Yeah.
Like, I grew up like 4 blocks from his house we're sitting right now. Like,
Yeah.
So like these were all people. Like how many different ladies? It's like how many like.
I think that like there's like 6 or 7.
Okay, so there's like 2.
I was a one-off, and my brother David was a one-off. But there was some women that he had like multiples with. So.
And did like any of them ever like find out about each other pre-ancestry, or was it like a clean exit?
Well, my mom found out about my younger brother when my dad used to own a bar in Philadelphia, and I guess there was like some altercation, and he wound up at the hospital one night. And my mom, like, rushed to be by his side, and there's like this other woman there, like, well pregnant.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
and they're both like pregnant,
Yeah, they're
standing
both
there.
pregnant. at
Welcome to
same
the
time.
bar business.
Yeah.
It's like a soap opera. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
So,
Crazy.
yeah, that's my
Yeah.
life.
And then he ran to the woods.
Yeah.
That's why
He's
I
like
was
Obi-Wan, or he's like Anakin, or whatever, Luke Skywalker,
yeah.
where he runs the way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, I had already run away from Philadelphia, like, right out of high school. And I came back to be with my lovely
we knew
wife.
each other from high school. We dated for 2 weeks in high school.
Oh yeah.
And then I went to Sweden every summer for 6 weeks, like because my family's from there. So we always went, and it was before like cell phones and computers and all that. So all summer I was like writing him letters, and he wrote me like 2 letters back that I was like totally reading between the lines. I'm like, yeah, he's so into me. And meanwhile, it's like, how are you? I am fine, whatever.
He's like, why are you making me write schools over?
Yeah, right. And when I came back, I was like, I'm just gonna surprise him at his house, like and he was there with his girlfriend. So
Aw.
I mean,
So
6 weeks is a long time
it
when you're
is.
that age.
Yeah, it totally. I get it. So then, like, we reconnected on Facebook like 20 years later. And,
Yeah, like my like I said, I didn't have the internet in my house till like 2013, and my daughter was in high school, and she was like, "How come everyone else on the planet has the internet and we don't?" And so they finally broke me down, and like we got the internet.
Internet's the devil.
Yeah, I was like, "You gotta stay away from that internet." But so she actually made me a Facebook profile, and then within like a few days, I got back in touch with Bianca. And,
yeah,
Damn.
right.
Yep.
A little love story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love story.
All
That's
that
pretty
A little
technology.
Facebook love story. Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Making magic happen. Maybe he's not so bad.
Yeah, maybe he's not-
No, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
terrible.
is.
He's
Whatever.
He's a Russian agent or
He's an
something.
alien.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, he's definitely an alien.
Not-
we'll
not real
we'll go
person.
down the alien road another day.
day.
There, I actually have like a little bit of investigating to do. There, my wife was, because her business is like all online, so she's constantly like on Facebook pages or group pages or things like that. And I have a guy in Doylestown who's like an investigator who is posting all over Facebook group pages about a UFO sighting.
What?
So I'm like, this guy is coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
We're
Nice.
coming. we're,
Yeah, right?
we're getting our local Doylestown UFO investigator on the show
Yes.
for
Oh,
sure.
man, I can't
She like
wait to hear it.
screenshotted the conversation to me and sent it to me, and I'm like, yep,
Yeah,
it's happening. It's happening.
Sounds like a good one.
Like, I gotta know him.
Yeah, you know what would be really funny though is if he like comes on the show and says like the one UFO sighting was like in your parking lot, and then like we come back to the
You
orc.
just tie it all back in.
He's like
It all
summoning,
just
like
gets tied in.
He's like summoning him somehow.
Your sales go through the roof because people think you have like ancient alien bread or something like that. Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
yeah. So
I'm in.
this is great. Do you have any other culinary questions?
Yeah. I was just looking at this post right here, and it said that you guys kind of made this in a mistake.
Yeah.
How often do you guys experiment and accidentally do things?
Well, we just had
yeah,
something
we just
last
had a mess
weekend.
up. Yeah, it was like an employee mess up. They put instead of putting maple syrup in like the English muffins, he dumped a bunch of molasses. Like I just happened to look over. I'm like, why is that all that color? And he's like, oh, I just put maple syrup in there. I'm like, no, that's molasses. So we actually turned it into a loaf instead of the English muffins, and it was awesome. We rolled it in poppy seeds, and
Wow.
just slamming. So
Yeah.
we really try to like waste like nothing. I
Mhm.
mean, like if any time we get stuck with anything, we cut it all up, make croutons, make bread pudding, whatever. We really try to waste absolutely nothing. So if something's salvageable in any sort of a way, we're gonna try to do something. And that just happened to be, that was supposed to be focaccia, and we didn't add enough water to it, and we made loaves out of it.
Yeah, and then like every month we also get to like experiment too with, depending on like what is available for us to change the flavor of the month.
Yeah.
So we get to, not make it so that it's always the same in that respect. At least we have like one new thing to like kind of obsess about.
It came after you. I
Trust
saw.
my,
tooth.
I'm gonna break my tooth in here.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah,
you did this.
the other thing we did from the very beginning is like all of our loaves, besides some of the ones with seeds, are all the same price. So it was like a kind of an experiment, because we were making these kind of out there flavors, and then we would have plain, and we didn't want someone to just be like, well, the plain's cheaper, and I'm afraid of that other one, so I'm just gonna go with like the cheap one. So we just made them all $10, so it kind of works itself out in the long run. But like we could have a turmeric apricot loaf there, and then it's right next to the plain that's the same price, and it really has helped. People will try all kinds of stuff when they don't have a cheaper, safe option.
That's an interesting tactic. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we liked the za'atar spice, so we got into like using that for like a carrot za'atar bread, and people were like, "Well, what is that? Like, I'm scared of it." Well, if it's like the same price as the plain, they're like, "Oh, I'll give it a try."
You're like, I can't spell it. I don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it. I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah.
So that has definitely been like a neat experiment to just push people's like boundaries with just flavors, or just trying new things, and also just our price point is on the higher side. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the bread, but also I do think that people just have kind of more respect for things that they pay more for. So like, when you do pay $10 for a loaf of bread, like you're figuring out a way to use the whole loaf. Like you're not just eating half, it gets kind of stale and you chuck it in the trash. Like people are then, chopping it up and making bread pudding or whatever. They're using every bit of it because there's, like a value attached to it.
Yeah, I also think like you could probably charge what you charge because like the value is there.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, I think if you were like like basic bread, like people would be like, oh, I'm not going with that. But like
in the beginning, there was at the farmer's market, somebody would be $10, and they just walk away. But we had samples then because it was like pre-COVID, so they'd take a sample and like be walking around like grumbling about the $10, and then they'd be like, I kind of walked around the whole market eating that one piece. That was pretty good. I think I'm going to buy one.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, and also like all the ingredients we use are either local, organic, or like being transitionally farmed, so like they're not sprayed and they're not GMO. And unfortunately,
that comes with the cost.
Yeah, they unfortunately in this country they cost substantially more. Like just for like a bag of flour, you can get like a more commercially produced wheat flour for like, I think it's like $9 for 50 pounds. We're paying like $40 per 50 pounds. And, not like boo-hooing about it, but it's just, that's how it is across the board if you want more quality ingredients.
Yeah, I think our country just got a little carried away with the factory farming and that whole model.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
There should be more. I mean, there's a decent amount of local options around here
Yeah.
if you look for them. It's
sure.
just people don't want to spend the time to like drive to the butcher on Saturday and then drive to the local dairy milk lady and then drive to get the bread. Like people don't want to spend the Saturday doing that. But I think the farmers market model allows everybody, like farmers market people tend to be a little bit more health conscious, I would think.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
for sure.
you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that's the beauty of the farmers markets is you can get your produce, you can get your proteins, your bread, of course, and other things too, like handmade soaps and just products that people put a lot of care and quality into that you can't get and I'm not trying to like beat up on like an Acme or Giant.
Throw them under the bus.
Yeah, but they don't really have those types of products as readily available. So that's where the farmers markets are clutch for people that want to have local and they want to know where their food is actually coming from.
You said you guys do 5 farmers markets.
Yeah.
What are like the 5
So
markets?
we do Horsham, New Britain, Doylestown, Brightstown, and Yardley.
Okay, so that's where it started.
Yeah,
Is
that's where I
Yard-
first had their bread. It was
That's
in
Yardley was
Yeah.
the one where it popped off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember my wife would go, when we lived in Yardley. That was like every Saturday morning. That's her and my mom would go to
Very cool.
the Yardley one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we try to like support the local businesses or local farms as much as we can. Like Love Grows CSA is a big one that we use. Troger's Farms in Kittnersville and like Blooming Glen now we're just starting to get like a relationship going with
Yeah.
them.
That's a pretty decent size farm.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
their CSA this year. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a really nice. I mean, we've gotten a lot of business from them. So,
That's good.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, I think I'm.
Do you guys have anything else?
New?
good. Thank you so much.
I'm
Yeah,
It's
hungry.
very nice.
Yeah,
He's like, it's time for bed.
Yeah, I heard your stomach rumbling. He needs to. Yeah, the beast needs to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Someone's blowing that the D horn or whatever you said.
Yeah, you heard the foghorn.
Yeah, foghorn, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. This
Yeah,
was
no,
fun.
it was
Thanks
a
a
it was a
lot.
pleasure meeting you guys. You guys were awesome.
Yeah, this was a lot more fun than the first one we did too, because the first
They could be
He was just
this
kidding.
a lot more fun than the first one we did because
HR nightmare.
it was just weird, like that whole deal. It was like
What podcast was that?
I don't want to
remember
name
the
it, but
name.
we were like,
He doesn't
at-
remember the name either.
I don't either, but
Was it Rotated Views?
No.
Let's just say podcast names
No.
on here.
No,
not
I just
saying
didn't know because that's the only other podcast that I know that's
But what was
local.
it? But I'll have to. I don't want to throw them under. But it was like we were at like an outdoor like cafe kind of thing, and we were like talking, and it was like a little tape recorder sitting there, and I was like, this like feels like a real.
Yeah, we've got sound panels and stuff
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah, you got like legit microphones and.
Yeah, we started with the microphones and like the audio system just because I can't stand listening to podcasts that are
The poor
just
quality.
just
Poor
poor
quality.
quality. There's celebrities podcasts that we've checked out that I'm like, how do these people not have like somebody being like,
Yeah.
your audio is trash?
I
Like,
know.
Right,
Now I
right.
can't even listen. I don't care what the content is. I'm like, sorry. Like,
yeah, we've never
you-
done a Zoom one. We've
Yeah.
had a bunch of people ask me to do Zoom podcasts, and I'm like, it's just a conference call at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Right.
the audio is everything in a podcast.
Absolutely.
When people
Absolutely.
talk to me about starting a podcast, I'm like, you gotta start with like
Yeah.
good microphones and just a system to edit it easily. And then the cameras come in because of YouTube. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
like that's where that all got edited in. Because I was like, if we're gonna do podcasts, we might as well have a YouTube channel. So, but you guys were a good time. This was
Awesome.
definitely one of the
Yeah, we
better
had a good
podcasts.
time.
I feel like I learned a lot, and it was
Awesome.
cool to hear about. Like your story was just very, you had everything. You had murder, romance.
Battling,
There was
romance.
Like, battling
Like,
works in the parking
This
lot.
is literally like HBO might be trying to buy this right now.
No more bread business for us. This
Yeah,
is, this
we
is
had
where it
culture.
launched
We
off.
had culture. We had
Yeah.
European culture. We had everything in
we
this.
had figuring out you had other family, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Like crazy
this
shit.
was every genre of TV show. We had comedy, soap opera, drama,
Education.
murder, education, science.
Yeah, science.
Animal
dude.
Planet. We got
We saw
This
cats and
was
shit.
everything. This episode checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
The first
Nice.
one ever.
Yeah.
Go Nord.
Yeah, it took us almost 150 episodes to get it right. But so people can find you Nordbread on Instagram.
Yeah, and we have a website, nordbread.com.
Damn, locked it up. That's awesome.
Booyah.
So, what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you? I guess the website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have a phone.
Yep.
No phone.
Right, no.
I mean, it's
phone.
2022. Like,
Yeah.
No one is calling Nordbread.
No.
Tell you
Somebody
right
actually
now.
did call me the other day, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it came up on your PayPal or whatever." It was my cell phone. I'm like,
Oh, that's
the whole
amazing.
time she's like, "Can I?" And I'm like, "Wait, I'm sorry. Like, I just have to. Like, how are you calling me? I just am. I'm
Right.
panicking.
Yeah.
Panicking that you got through to me. Like,
yeah, that's DoorDash set you guys up. And they've been calling.
Yeah. They're like releasing your phone number. 'Cause my phone's never been anywhere near
no.
anything
Wow.
on the website.
He gets to work and puts it in a silent pocket. You can't even find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only used for the timer and
And the
like
listen to
punk
music.
rock until I get there and crash the whole party.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And, thank you, Gilmore.
Thank you, Gilmore.
Rambo for
Thank you, Rambo.
Yes.
Thank you,
Rambo.
guys.
and hit the subscribe button. Find us on YouTube, Spotify. You know the deal. This was an incredibly beneficial podcast for everyone. We had everything in this episode. And thanks for listening.